Welcome to Tom LoBianco Reports, episode 4. Today, we are going to Iowa. We're talking about Iowa. We were back in the heartland, never left, always in your heart, always in the heart of America. As we get rolling, I'll wait for folks to join us here on the Substack live reminder. I'll find us here every weekday, Monday through Friday, except federal holidays, on Substack at noon. Then catch the replay over at Political Voices Network at 8 p.m. All right. Today, we're talking about whether Democrats are seeing a resurgence in Iowa. And this is after years and years of Iowa largely being written off by Democrats. Most national political folks kind of poo-pooing the idea that it was a purple state. It changed a little bit this week. There was a special election from the northwest corner of the state, a corner of the state that used to be represented by a real hardcore ideologue named Steve King. In the state Senate election this week, Democrats pulled off an upset. There's some other signs that we're seeing that there could be a little bit more blue, perhaps even enough to shade things purple in the Hawkeye state that we're seeing. Before we dive in on that, I want to remind everybody, if you're watching us live here on YouTube or on the Substack, drop in your comments, quotes, notes, you name it. Ian Walters, producer extraordinaire, political expert, our living almanac of politics. He's like a Wikipedia that does not need to be edited, is here. He'll be taking your comments, quotes, questions, and shooting them over to me, because otherwise I would just spend the entire time reading and saying, hey, and what's up, and never actually get through the show. So if you got them, shoot them on over to Ian, drop them in the notes here. Okay, Ian will put them all together. We will get to that for the last I said like the last 10 minutes of the show today. We were talking beforehand as we're getting everything together today, and Ian made a very astute observation. He said, look at the industries of Iowa. Why is there renewed Democratic interest right now? Why is there kind of a malaise among the Republicans? Or at least there seems to be. Midwesterners are pragmatic folk. Okay. We were in Indiana yesterday. Today we're in Iowa. Different flavors, but the pragmatism really holds things together. And if you look at the big industries out there, these are all big industries that are being slammed by the White House and by Trump right now. So we got meatpacking, which is a heavy immigrant labor force right there. Wind turbines, renewable energy, very big in Iowa. You have a lot of blue-collar, high-paying wind turbine jobs out there, and also skilled medical practitioners, RNs, nurses. All right, also getting hit by these major cuts to Medicaid, potential cuts to Medicaid here, cuts in healthcare. Also, this massive realignment underway by RFK Jr. at Health and Human Services. So these are all things that are getting slammed right now. If you got the email, went out a little bit late today, but if you got the email, you saw a little joke in there at the top about a dead whale, an ICE agent, and a pseudo hippie walk into the beer pavilion at the Iowa State Fair, and the joke's on the GOP. The dead whale, for those of you who are not super hyper plugged in, apparently there's some talk that whales get killed by turbines. I saw that somewhere. I can't remember where, but you can add that to the dead birds too, allegedly. I'm sure wind turbines do kill something, but they also They provide renewable electricity. They're very popular throughout the country, especially in a lot of landlocked states where it's flat and you get a lot of wind, or in places like Iowa. So, what's going on here? What's going on? Why are the Democrats doing so well here? Seem to be doing so well. Caitlin Dray, newest state senator, will be the next state senator from District 1 in Iowa, beat her Republican opponent. The number was like 55-44, something like that. Now, l- let's do some caveats here, all right? Because look, you've got the Democrats talking about now they might have a national convention before the midterms next year, as we noted yesterday. This is a really important midterms. This is why we have this entire redistricting fight, and that effectively could be the end of the Trump presidency if the Democrats retake the House and really start establishing some oversight over the executive branch. Now you have Trump saying that he might do a midway national convention ahead of the midterms for the Republicans. So we have competing national conventions. Looks like I'll be out on the road at the conventions again 2 years earlier than I expected. Seeing if that actually holds. This Caitlin Dray, this was up in the first district of Iowa, up in the northwest corner of the state, and used to be Steve King's district. Heavy presence from national Democrats. Okay, big presence from DNC, a group that we don't often hear about, but I suspect we might be hearing about more of the Democratic Legislative Council, the DLCC. I'm going to screw up the name. We don't talk about them as much as the DCC or the NRCC, the ones that deal with Congress, Senate, the more national campaigns. This is the state level group. The Republican version of that is the Republican State Leadership Council or Committee, RSLC, and they've been very active for a while. You're starting to see a lot of Democrats get active. You see Beto O'Rourke is out there now, all right, campaigning around the country in these state races. All right. I would also note there does seem to be a lot of quote unquote Democratic Tea Party energy out there. All right. Certainly in response to this second Trump administration and everything that he's been doing. Okay. You're seeing a lot of energy. Now, the Republicans will note Jeff Kaufman, still the Iowa state chairman of the GOP out there, will say, well, hey, Democrats poured all this money and attention into this race, and it's just a special election. Like, you can't read too much into that. But I think that, too, is a very good point. All right. You don't want to say, all right, this is back to the days of Tom Harkin and Chuck Grassley keeping things in a relative bipartisan balance out in Iowa. All right. These are not the 80s and the 90s back when the Iowa caucuses were mandatory for both parties and could really shape a presidential election, or, as was often the case, give you a sense of the tide among the base of the respective parties. Christian fundamentalist on the right, Bernie Bros on the left, populist, you name it. Okay. But that special election is not the only indicator we see out there that Democrats are having a little bit of a resurgence in Iowa. We were looking at the congressional maps before coming on air today, and if you look in Iowa's first district and third district, very tight races. Okay, very tight races. Mary Miller Meeks came within point. She won by 0.2 percentage points in 2024, and that should have been a sweep. All right, it was given the overall national trends. All right, then you look at Zach Nutt, the Republican down in the Southwest There's 4 congressional districts, all right? So this is the one just below Randy Feenstra, who looks like he's going to be running for governor, potentially. I don't know that he's announced yet, but he looks like he'll probably be the Republican for governor. Um, and that was the old Steve King district up in the northwest corner of the state. Look down the southwest corner of the state, and you got Zach Nunn there. He only won by 4 percentage points. So this was supposed to be, massive Republican sweep. Why were they that tight? Democrats are pretty bullish on their chances there. Okay, it's been a while. Now I'm going to throw a little bit of cold water on this. We've been talking about redistricting, and this is the ball game. All right, we've been talking about what's happening in Texas, California, even Indiana, just trying to squeeze one more Republican seat, squeezing blood from a stone these days. Okay, doesn't work in Iowa because there's a nonpartisan, as the Des Moines Register notes. I put this in the email this morning. As the Des Moines Register notes, nonpartisan redistricting done there since 1980. And there's mandatory contiguous. All right. So when we say contiguous, these are not these zigzag gerrymanders. All right. They keep counties whole. All right. They don't split them between districts. All right. You don't have 3 congressmen living within a mile of each other representing 3 different parts of the state. All right. It is, as it turns out, probably what you would see in the rest of the country if there was nonpartisan districting everywhere else. It's less hyper partisan. So that's the big caveat on this. All right. Now let me throw out another one here. My friend Chris Saliza he did his first, he doesn't call them the rankings. You guys probably know Saliza. He's long been doing rankings, the top 10 Senate races, presidential contenders. I mean, he's been doing this for decades now. He didn't rank them, but it's top 10 most interesting governor's races to watch. He puts on there Iowa Auditor Rob Sands. As best I can tell, the only statewide elected Democrat in Iowa, has been prepping for his run for the governor. Kim Reynolds, the Republican, is term limited out to 2 terms. Puts him number 8 on his list of most interesting races to watch right now. So that's going to be very fascinating too. And I would note Kim Reynolds, when she won in 2018, the first time around, her reelection was a prompt, and that's pretty standard for incumbents. I think she did that like 58% or 38%, something like that, over the Democrat. First race, she only won by a couple of points over a guy named Fred Hull, Democrat candidate. Things are looking a little bit more blue these days. Now, let's get to Joni Ernst. Okay. Yeah, I remember when she first came in, kind of like a post Tea Party wave, and between the Tea Party and Trump in terms of Republican politics back in 2014. All right, and she ran for the seats that used to be the seat held by Tom Harkin. All right, and there certainly was some thinking when Harkin retired that, this is the end of Democrats out in Iowa, and Ernst has been a presence ever since then. All right, her roast and ride is mandatory for all the national Republicans. I was out there on the roast and ride 2 years ago when almost every Republican candidate, with the distinct exception of Donald Trump, was out there trying to win over votes ahead of the Iowa caucuses. This was back in June of 2023. And this was back before anybody knew who Vivek Ramaswamy was. It was really funny. He was going up to everybody he could. And props to Ramaswamy. This is what you have to do as a politician, talking to everybody humanly imaginable. And I was kind of scouting, looking for DeSantis. Pence was still in the race back then, looking for, people that really had something close to a chance. All right. Remember, this is summer of 2023. it was not a lock for Trump at that point. I remember Ramaswamy coming over, shaking my hand. He's like, "Oh, you want to do an interview?" I'm like, "Yeah, okay. You're not going to win, but yes, of course, why not?" A couple months later, he was rapping at the state fair. Really a stalking horse for Trump throughout the entire thing. And we should probably do a Ramaswamy update at some point. 'Cause he's still around out in Ohio. Joni Ernst, though, there's been a lot of chatter here in Washington that she might not run for reelection. All right, opening up a U.S. Senate seat. All right. Now, does that mean it's a guaranteed Democratic seat? Hardly. All right. Deep bench of Republicans out there in Iowa that could have run for this thing. But public policy polling came out recently, about a week and a half ago, showing a number of potential Democratic contenders. This guy, Dan Turek, has been doing these great ads. Disabled, he's been putting out these ads about the introductory ads about him as Democrat. He's polling within a couple points of Ernst in a hypothetical head-to-head. There's some others. I think Dan Sage is another one there. I screwed up the first name there. Sage is another one. But what was interesting about this is that basically every Democrat that they tested against Ernst came within a few points of her. Now, well, let's throw in some standard caveats about political polling. All right. It's early, small samples should not be overrepresented in the reporting. Okay. But we start to see a trend line there. And as Ian notes, Ian and I were talking about this beforehand. He said that Ernst is going to have her big roast and ride in October, so a little over a month away, where it's expected that she will announce whether she is or is not running again. And here is I'm going to call this the Jeb Bush please clap moment of this Iowa Senate race. She was at town hall to get beat up on Medicaid cuts, and she makes a quip. And I say this because I remember when Jeb Bush made the please clap comment. He's not the first politician to say please clap. Mike Pence used to say in his own way, it was hilarious. He says, you can applaud for that, when he'd throw out these one-liners that were, they just landed with a thud on the floor. Okay. But, Bush got nailed for it because it encapsulated something. She's not the first politician to say, well, we're all going to die. Okay. But she is the one who got nailed on it and became viral, and it could become defining of her. So we're going to find out pretty soon if she's running again. There's a lot more at play right now in Iowa. So we're going to keep the focus there. This is a part of one of the things that I'm going to be doing as we keep on doing Tom LoBianco Reports is looking into the midterms, going state by state. We're heading into Labor Day weekend, okay? And after most folks really come back from the summer, if you got kids, we're us parents we're back from vacation, but a lot of America is still on vacation, as well they should be. I'd like to be on vacation, frankly. But as we come back, a lot of focus on the midterms. All right, things are really going to be heating up. And we're going to be going to a number of different states, trying to take the pulse, trying to understand what's going on as we go into these very important midterm elections. So with that, I'm going to go to your questions. Let me pull up. Ian should. Let's see what we got here. Questions, comments. Shoot them on over. No questions or comments. Okay. Well, if you got any, hit me. If not, no worries. And I'll note here too, you can also, if you haven't already signed up, 24site.news, you get the email in the morning. Okay. And I'll be on C-SPAN, Washington Journal, on Monday morning, 9 a.m. Catch me over there. And on Tuesday at 2 p.m. here on Substack. So, come on by for the regular show. And then hop back on 2 p.m. I'll be on with Kate Brower. She is an incredible author, has written a number of books, First Ladies in the White House. She wrote a great book a number of years ago it's called First in Line. It's on the vice presidents and their relationships with the president. And I'll be talking with her. We're going to be talking about Pence and Vance and how they contrast and how they handle Trump. So that should be a really, really solid discussion. And tomorrow, have you, Ian, the Ian asked if I've ever seen the butter cow at the state fair. I have seen the butter cow. I, there is a line to see that butter cow. Okay. You got to wait in line to see the butter cow. And, I don't have the patience. It's like 90 degrees outside. You're sweating. All right. I usually just hang out over the beer pavilion. Okay, which is just across from there. Uh, I probably need to go back to the state fair, not this year, maybe next year. It's been a few years. Um, yeah. Oh, and check in tomorrow. All right. Check on in tomorrow. For Fridays, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be keeping it loose, not politics. I'm going to be talking about boxing, my favorite sport. All right, something I love doing. It keeps me normal, keeps me healthy and happy, so I can be out there talking about all this crazy stuff that's going on. See over my shoulder here, we got Hagler versus Hearns, one of the great fights. All right, I'm a huge Hagler fan. So just an absolute pit bull of a fighter. So we're gonna be talking about boxing tomorrow. If you got things you'd like to see covered, anything you're interested in, you can always reply to the email that I send out every morning. I'll get that. I'll see it. Drop a note here in Substack Live. Make sure to catch the replay, 8 p.m. on Political Voices Network over on YouTube. Okay. You can also comment in there. I do live in the comments down there. There are not enough Russian bots in this world to keep me out of the comments. And God knows there's plenty of them. Okay. So with that, we'll keep it pretty tight, guys. I'm going to wrap it up here. I'll see you again tomorrow noon. We'll be talking boxing, no politics on Fridays, and have a good weekend, y'all. Peace.